Dr. McCrae, this is Trayvon Deloach, and I'm here with my friend,
Devin Porter Wilson. Mm-mm-mm-mm.
and we're here to talk about the Cold War and how it ended in 1991. The Cold War was I mean, I guess you can say it was a big event in the United States history. Some background information: the Cold War is the name given to the relationship that developed primarily between the USA, which us, and the USSR. It was now modern day Russia. After World War II, the the Cold War was to dominate international affairs for decades, and many major crises occurred. The Missile Crisis. The Cuban Missile Crisis of October 1962 was a direct and dangerous confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War, and was the moment when the two superpowers came the closest to nuclear conflict. It also involved the Vietnam War and the Berlin Wall. That's just some of the things to name. For many, the growth in weapons of mass destruction was the most worrying. To believe it or not, the Cold War wasn't actually a war. It was something. It was more of a, I guess you can say, a standoff between the two superpowers, the USA and the USSR. The creation of NATO helped prevent the Cold War from becoming such a hot war that could have led to a nuclear war. The NATO stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, also called the North Atlantic Alliance, and it's an intergovernmental military alliance between several North American and European countries based on the North Atlantic Treaty that was signed on April 4th, 1949.
So I'm here to just talk about like how the Cold War ended. And so the long term causes of the Cold War are clear. Western democracies have always been hostile to the idea of communist state. The United States had a refused recognition to the USSR, like my partner said, Russia, for 16 years after the Bolshevik.
Bolshevik.
Oh, Bolshevik. That's how you say it. Bolshevik takeover. Domestic fears of communism erupted in a Red Scar in America in the early 20s. The Red Scar was essentially the Americans being scared of the spread of communists throughout the world. So that's just a little bit more information add on to his. So I'm gonna keep going with the ending. So the main events that marked the end of the Cold War were the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, like you talked about in class, and the breakup of the Soviet Union in 1991. The Berlin Wall had been the main symbol of the Cold War. It had kept people from Eastern Europe, which was communist, from escaping to the West. When the wall came down, along with more border and barriers, it meant that people in the East could now leave. This pretty much meant the communist system was pretty much dead. In late 1991, the Soviet Union itself dissolved into its component republics. I didn't know that until now. With stunning speed, the Iron Curtain was lifted, and the Cold War came to an end.
And that's it.
Holla at you.